What does a modern classroom look like?
Yeah, happy to share. I mean, I think the easiest way to explain is just to tell you about my journey as a teacher. When I
Yeah.
started teaching at Eastern High School in Washington, D.C., I taught the way I was trained to teach. I stood up at the board. I delivered a lesson every day to all of my students, at least those who happened to be in class that day. And I realized pretty quickly that it wasn't giving my students what they needed. Some students, they already understood it, they were advanced, they were bored. A lot of my students, they were below proficient on their tests, they had gaps in their learning, they couldn't understand it, they were lost. And some of my students weren't there at all. We really struggled with chronic absenteeism, and this is even before COVID. It's a bigger issue now. So what I did is I realized me giving one lesson every day to all my students, it's not going to work. I started recording my lessons on video. Very simple. I would really just like start a video call with myself, hit record, explain something, take 5 minutes, 10 minutes to explain it. Now my students can watch this anytime, anywhere. They can rewatch, they can pause if they're in class to ask me questions. And it meant that I spent my time in class, not standing at the board trying to control behavior, but I sat down with my students. I got to know them. I built relationships with them. I was more of a tutor, coach, mentor than what you think of as a teacher. And I love that. That's why I went into teaching, right? Is to get to know and get to support young people. My students, they would watch my videos, 5-10 minutes, pretty short, and then they'd work together with their classmates. And so the class felt almost like a college library. Some students on computers learning, some students working together, some working with me. Everyone focused, challenged, supported. Last thing I'll say is that, and it's actually the best part about a modern classroom, is that when you have students learning at their own paces like this from video, you can actually make sure they understand lesson 1 before they go on to lesson 2. So often in teaching, we say, well, here's the lesson. I hope you got it. If not, too bad. We're moving to the next thing. And that just sets students up to fail. They lose confidence in themselves. They have gaps in their learning. In math, that was such a problem, but it's true in every subject. You really should understand one skill before you move to the next. So in a modern classroom, it's all about mastery. I sit down with the student. If they understand it, move on. If not, let me help you get it. Try again, make sure you understand. Then you can move on to my next video, my next set of group work. So yeah, that's a modern classroom. The digital direct instruction, the teacher working closely with the students, and students achieving mastery before they move on.
Okay, so forgive my ignorance, but it sounds very similar to a flipped classroom model. Is that similar to what the modern classroom looks like?
No, it's not ignorance at all. You're well informed. Yes, I think it is like a flipped classroom with a couple key differences. The first is that there's no assumption that students need to watch anything at home. Where I taught in DC public schools, students didn't always have access to the internet or computers at home, so they could watch in class. I think the more important distinction is in the flipped classroom, usually every student is working on the same lesson at the same time. And I think that's really difficult for students because if you missed Monday and Tuesday's lesson because you're absent, you come in on Wednesday, you're going to be lost. And so, especially if you can't watch at home. So in a modern classroom, learning is self-paced. Different students in the same classroom may be at different lessons. And that's just what you understand determines what you learn next. So I think that's like a flipped classroom, but it's maybe an evolution on the flipped classroom.
Got you. Okay, so where are the videos housed? Is this because it sounds like there's an opportunity for on-demand videos as well? Is this a YouTube platform that we're utilizing?
Great question. There's a couple platforms that we recommend for teachers. Oftentimes the school will provide a recording platform. Sometimes teachers don't have a recording platform. We say, start a Zoom call with yourself, hit the record button, explain something, pause, stop the recording. There's your video. It's not a super high-tech thing to record a video. So you use what you have, you make the video, and then if you have some kind of learning management system, you can just put your videos there. So I used Canvas, I used Google Classroom at a different school. Now at Modern Classrooms, we have courses in a platform called Moodle. Whatever tools you have or learning management system you have, you can do this. If you can start a video call, you can record a video, keep it simple and make it accessible to the students. so that they can watch it and learn from it. You can spend your time in class sitting down with them and supporting them.
This is great. I actually think this is a good. I guess I have some questions. Well, I do have questions, but it sounds like a really good strategy, a good model that, again, is very modern, especially with how technology and as we're looking at artificial intelligence and all the different activities that are available and resources that are available. So for those who might be like, oh, I'm camera shy, oh, I'm not as tech savvy, what are some of your thoughts or responses?
Yeah, I mean, we get that all the time. It's funny, I actually think modern classrooms is sort of like the low tech blended instruction piece, because what we really recommend is create your video is a small thing. It just replaces your direct instruction that you might otherwise give from the room. And after that, my students were on paper, like all class. They watched my video, they took notes on paper, they did practice problems on paper, they discussed things face to face, their mastery checks were on paper. It's not really a high-tech classroom, except for replacing that piece that I found was ineffective, which was my lecture, direct instruction, with a video. So I love when I see teachers using AI and online practice and all these platforms. There's so much out there. But really, the modern classroom is not about fancy tech tools. It's just about delivering instruction in a way that meets learners' needs, and that doesn't have to be fancy. For teachers who are camera shy, you don't have to have your face on camera. It doesn't have to be a professional video setup. You can start a Zoom call, you share your screen, you can hide your camera, you just explain something the same way you'd explain it in class, maybe using some slides. You have a video, except now your students can watch it whenever they're ready. They can pause to ask you a question one-on-one. They don't have to interrupt the class or risk asking a question that they fear will be a stupid question. They can watch it at home. They can watch it in school. Their family can watch it with them if their family wants to get to know you or support the student. And you never have to repeat yourself. I mean, when you're a teacher, you repeat yourself all the time. You have it on video. You say, hey, go back and watch my video. When you have a question, let's sit down. Let's talk about it. And by the way, how are you today? What's new in your life? I never had time for that kind of interaction when I was standing at the board trying to deliver a lesson.
Okay. All right. One more question about this, and then I want to get into the single lesson piece. About how long are the videos? So I know it depends and that, but just give us kind of like a ballpark as far as length of videos.
Yeah, we're always recommending 5 or 6 minutes. And when teachers say they want to do longer videos, what we say is just break it up into a couple short videos. I know me, when I see a video on YouTube, if I see it's longer than 10 minutes, I almost don't want to watch it. I want to see something that's short, that's concise. And that helps the teacher too be really focused. Sometimes I felt like when I was standing at the board, I had something simple to explain, but I started explaining it and then I had to go down a different path because some students were missing a prerequisite skill, and then students came in late, they interrupted me, I had to control behavior. Before I knew it, 20 minutes of class had gone by. On the video, I would just tell myself, look, you got 5 minutes to explain this, be super focused. You do the next skill in the next video. And that's good for students too. It means they don't spend that much time in class watching videos. It means they watch the video, they take the notes, and then they go find a friend and they work together to apply what they've learned.
All right, let's move. Let's think.